how to know if we are being tested or being punished by Allah when we are faced with calamities? This is a good question. However, we cannot know. I became sick. I got an illness. There is a disease. I lost my money. I lost my job. I lost my investment. How would I know if this is a test from Allah to elevate my status in Jannah, or it is a punishment that Allah Azza wa Jal is punishing me for sins that I have committed? You cannot know. Nevertheless, they are interlinked. So if I'm a righteous person and Allah Azza wa Jal tests me with an illness, this means that Allah would erase my sins if I'm patient and not complaining, and elevate my status in Jannah. And the other way is also true. If I'm a sinful person and Allah tests me with a calamity, with an illness or with poverty or loss of job, and I become humble and patient, I do not complain, I do not object to Allah's ruling, but on the contrary, I acknowledge my sins, then this would erase my sins and elevate my posture and position in Jannah, inshallah. Therefore, one can tell by the circumstances. If a calamity befalls upon a kafir, definitely this is not to elevate his status in Jannah. He's a kafir, he's a disbeliever. This is a punishment. If it falls upon an openly sinner Muslim, he's sinful, he's openly committing sin, this is a punishment. We know that for granted. If it falls upon a person who's righteous and he's praying 5 times a day, etc., doing all the whole 9 yards, yet he is being tested with calamity, this is a test. When does it become a punishment? If he starts to complain and he's impatient and he's objecting to Allah's rulings and decree, though before the calamity he was a person of prayer, fasting, charity and righteousness. In this case, it becomes obvious that this is not a test, this is a punishment.
If something negative happens to you, seek the forgiveness of Allah. And the condition of your heart will determine whether it was a punishment or not. If your heart is made distant from Allah because of something that happened to you, that is a punishment. And if your heart became closer to Allah as a result of something that happened to you, it was the biggest blessing. Whether positive or negative is besides the point. You know what that means? Some people get a lot of money, they get a good job, they have a lovely family, they forget Allah. That's a punishment. Why? It was something that looked positive, but it drove you away from Allah. It took you to the clubs and it took you to bad habits. If that's the case, it was a punishment. It's not a blessing. Something looking good was not a blessing because it drove you away from Allah. And on the other hand, something that was looking so bad, you lost your job, you lost your limbs, you had an accident, someone passed away, etc. If it made you come for salah and change your life, wallahi, that was a blessing from Allah. Anything that brings you close to Allah is a blessing. That's why sometimes a person gets sick and he's a wealthy guy and he says, I'm going to the doctor. Go to the doctor. Doctor says, we're doing all the tests. He said, yes, we're doing the tests. He gets the MRI and he gets this done and that done. Pause for a moment. May Allah grant shifa to all those who are sick and ill. Say Ameen. All those who are sick and ill. And may Allah protect us all. Ameen. So he gets everything done and you know what? They don't know what's the story. Why? My brother, you don't do your salah on time. You're not worshipping Allah. You're far from Allah. You're engaged in sin and so on. And Allah loves you enough to make you realize that it's only in the hands of Allah. So you'll go to the doctors and you should. But if nothing happens, nothing comes out one after the other, and then the doctor tells you, you know what? You only have 6 months to live. A person who that statement draws closer to Allah is actually blessed. And the other one will get frustrated, start questioning Allah. Why are you doing this to me? Why me? I've got little children. Forget about it. You're not the first person with little children who's got 6 months to live. And by the way, when they say 6 months to live, it's not even cast in stone, because you might live for another 60 years. Who knows? It's only a statement. They might be totally wrong. How many people have left, for example, healthy and they've died without a problem? And how many people have been told 24 hours to go, 24 years still, they're saying, Salam alaikum Buddha. MashaAllah, may Allah grant us ease. Rely on Allah. If anything brings you closer to Allah, it is a blessing.